There is a new tennis book out. It's called Smashed, Tennis Prodigies, Parents and Parasites. It's written by Todd Ley. And Todd was on this show probably a couple of years ago, and he was once, of course, the world's top junior tennis player, the youngest athlete ever signed by IMG, and a child he made at a renowned international sporting academy. It's a fascinating story. Still involved in tennis to the day. Todd, great to have you in the studio.
Thanks for having me on. Thanks for letting me come on the show.
Absolutely. This has been a real passion project over the last 4 or 5 years to tell your story.
Yeah, sort of more done out of necessity, really. Looking for somewhere to be able to say some things and speak about a lot of the common occurrences that I've seen play out time and time again in tennis, really.
Yep.
And it's a very common theme that happens in the game, yet it just gets very much swept over into the corner and no one really wants to talk about certain stuff. And so for me, it's like, well, if you're all right with stepping on a few landmines, talk about it. So for me, yeah, it's been done out of a lot of it's just really had to come out, is because a lot of the stuff that I've done, I've handled very unhealthily.
Yep.
And trying now to handle it in a healthy way. But again, I'm not 100% convinced that there's an audience for this type of stuff. I don't think people want to really talk about it or know about it. Yet the game is very rife with it.
So you obviously wrestled, whether to do this, and you've said it out of necessity. You felt that it needs to be told.
Not a wrestle. No, it was like I got sober about 5 years ago.
Yep.
And when I used to drink, I used to just it was like the muzzle would come off, and then stuff would just come out, and I would bail up random strangers, anyone. You, the cleaner in the lobby, anyone, and just poured out, just out. And there came a point where that was getting pretty dangerous for me. So basically what I've done, I'm looking for a healthier version of doing the same thing, because for a lot of my life, I've just not been able to speak about my honest reality and a lot of other players' reality, which I see time and time again. And
to this day?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everyone knows about this stuff. Everyone sees it. Everyone's around it. I mean, it's so common that it's become almost desensitized. It's part of the water. It's part of the air. It's part of the fence. It's everywhere. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I've voiced my experience, stuff I've seen, stuff I've been a part of, and it's been my life.
So just for some context, so for those tuning in tonight, we've got tennis fans who love this show, and we've got SEN sports listeners who are driving around who love all sport. As I mentioned, you go to IMG, you go to the heartbeat of tennis all those years ago. This is where the big academies were, producing some unbelievable players. You go there as a 12-year-old. It's fascinating. I mean, the average 12-year-old is, in grade 6 at school here, and just, converting from being a youngster into a teenager and figuring life out. So just take us all the way back, if you can, just to set some context of why you've gone down the track of, putting this book out.
I mean, to me, again, like, you read a lot of the stuff that you said at the start, and to me, that's just words. I don't remember a lot of my life. I'm very detached from a lot of what happened, because when you get put in a lot of weird situations, there's a sort of a split that really occurs, and a person just really sleepwalks through their existence. And I've done that for years on years, really. So I've done my best of speaking about stuff that I've needed to get out in the book, and speak about what it was like growing up in these sort of sporting compounds, factories, and really what the consequences have done to me by result of being around that and in it. And I'm not the only one here. It's like, I've seen this play out time and time again. And it's a weird thing, because, parents don't exactly send their children to these compounds with the hope of them coming back as well-established, well-adjusted people.
Yep.
They're sending them there for results. And these places were renowned for getting results. So it's like, just make him a star. And, well, you know, sometimes you get that, you know, the reality of it is they get 1 through and 10 of them burn out. And then you never hear from them. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, this is basically a account of someone that, because you never get to hear that side of the story. That side of the story is just never spoken about.
Yep.
It's just pushed aside. And I'm like, fuck, sorry, I'm not just going to be pushed aside. So a lot of resentment and bitterness and anger and disgust, and a lot of that's gone into this. So yeah, I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed by it, and I'm annoyed that, you know, to an extent, I'm still a part of this. So, and because, you know, I was sort of part of this specialization, is the fact that talent can really rob you of everything else, and this is the only skill that I have. And I don't want to flip burgers down the road at Hungry Jack's. Like I just don't want to do that. So in a way, I've kind of been handcuffed and felt complicit in this and annoyed and taken it out of myself. And it's like this 30-year running tragedy that just keeps going and going and going and going. And for me, what I'm trying to do is let go of that stuff. I don't want to I want to be able to sleep at night. I want to be able to sleep at night, quite frankly. I've got to be okay with myself and my own integrity with what I'm doing. And I don't see much of it. I don't see much of it at all, really. I see people just talking about just nonsense, fluff in comparison about what's actually going on. It's an insult, really. I find it to be an insult.
So I don't know whether this, I'm just going to say, I don't know whether it draws a direct correlation, but I work a lot with Yelena Dokic.
Okay.
We worked together last night doing the Billie Jean King Cup.
Yeah.
I saw her doco a week ago, Unbreakable, and a lot of people knew about sort of the Dokic stuff with her father, but I think that doco took us into some areas that we didn't know was happening all those years ago. And
Who didn't know?
well, I think just the general public
Right.
might not have known some of the stuff that came out in that documentary about her father's.
I haven't seen it.
Her father's treatment of Yelena and what she actually went through. And many people thought that Yelena didn't really bleed for Australia, but she loved it. But her father took away so many things.
Yeah.
I see her now as a person who's in a much happier place, but there are some demons and scars that'll be there forever. Yeah. Being this young tennis super talent at such a young age, but hated the whole tennis environment.
Yeah.
I mean, you can resonate with that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like, again, I think that's sort of her story is, and this is the problem that I saw with a lot of tennis biographies and stories, and that is like, there's a stereotypical view of these parents as if they're domineering figures, and that's the way they sort of are. And I really don't think a lot of them are. I think a lot of them come in with pure intentions. But the conditions and the culture of tennis, this elite sort of competitiveness, certain people have an extreme type of person. They have susceptibilities to being completely carried away in it. And then all of a sudden the line gets completely blurred. And the investment that they're investing in, it's not BHP or whatever it is, it's a child, and that gets completely forgotten because now they're invested because they're hooked. They're in. And then all of this stuff sort of unfolds. So yeah, there's the stereotypical sort of like one-dimensional type of parent we've all sort of know of that.
Yep.
But I don't think these people are malicious. Like, again, I've done this. I've lived vicariously through players and been like, right, this is going to be my redemption. I'm going to, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's very easy to do. And you don't see the person, you look through the person and you ride them like far lap, and then you disregard them once they're done. And that's just, that is the nature of this. And it's very, again, tennis's facade is like, this is a gentlemanly sport. I'm still yet to see the gentleman, because that for me should be absolute 101, because the brochure of this thing of tennis looks spectacular. It looks brilliant. And people sign up for this stuff thinking that they're going to be adored by millions of people, make millions of dollars, you know, and what they come to find is like, what?
Yeah.
You know, you feel shortchanged and robbed and annoyed, and it's like, well,
the reality.
Yeah, absolutely. It's brutal. This is a brutal sport. This is sporting extremism at its finest, really. So that's what I think is an important thing to be said and acknowledged, and for everyone to really know what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah, look, it's a great point, Todd. I loved our chat a couple of years ago, and when I love the sport of tennis, and I am invested in it with this product.
It's heavy. It's heavy to talk about. But like, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, but there are many sides, and you know, I talk to players on this show every week are all chasing this dream. For some, it's more attainable. For some, it's probably very unrealistic.
Yeah.
And they've got to probably come back down to earth at some point and just conform back into society and get a normal job because the tennis dream
everyone
is over.
Everyone's perpetuating this problem because they profit off it. They profit off these people being disillusioned.
Yep.
Because they're so it's like ultimately they feel the pinch of that, and then it's sort of like, okay, no skills, no nothing left. All right, now what else? Well, coach, and then the system goes on and on and on. I don't have any answers for that, but that's what I've seen. That's what I've been in, and that's what keeps me up at night.
So, Smashed is the book.
Yeah.
Is there something in there, without giving the whole book away, but something in there that was the most difficult thing to put pen to paper on?
No, really, it's no. It wasn't difficult in the slightest. No. It sort of just came out. It's coming out like it's coming out now. Like, well, you get to a certain point and it's like, here it is.
Yep.
And I guess what takes time is getting to a certain point where it's like, you know what, I'm done being muzzled. And again, like, you hear these people talk about write a letter to someone and then don't post it and put it in your top drawer.
Yep.
I don't get the point of that. No. So for me, if I'm going to write something, I'm going to put it out there. And I think it's an important thing to be there. So you can read, again, this isn't for happy hitters and lollipop. Like, again, if you're enjoying your tennis experience, don't read this. By all means, like, don't read it. I do not read that. But if you want to know what's going on and you want to know what you're in and you don't know which way is up, down, whatever, and everyone's pointing the other direction, read that. Because it may help. It may give you some sort of clarity in all the saturation of fluff that's out there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Smashed exposes the hidden and harsh realities associated with child sporting excellence, offering an unprecedented examination of the ruthless underbelly of tennis, the so-called gentleman's game. And where do we find it, Todd?
I don't know. If you can go to www.toddley.com.au, I'm pretty sure the website's up there. And I'm also writing like a lot of blogs. I'm trying to. I don't really like the social media stuff. I've got unsportsmanlike publishing that's there.
Yep.
And but I'm trying to write some blogs, and they're along the same vein of this. It'll give you a bit of a, I don't know. See what your tolerance is like. See what your tolerance for truth is like. If you like it watered down, don't read it.
Well, I found a bit of info. Your local library.
Yeah.
You can ask for Smashed at your local library and they'll be able to get it for you.
Wow.
Your local bookstore.
Yeah.
Direct from Unsportsmanlike Publishing.
Yeah.
Which we'll tag in the social handles on our socials. And from your favourite online retailer that's available globally from online retails from, January 14, 2025.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that sounds good.
There you go. I should be the PR man.
You're brilliant at this. Thanks for having me on as well. You threw me. Again, this is why I wanted to come over and say this. I feel like saying it on the phone. I don't know.
No, we've had a bit of dealings. I know I don't know you that well, but I know the journey and, tennis is, I always say it's the sport as you just mentioned, we're not trying to take away the dreams of anyone. This is a great sport in a lot of ways, but it is enter at your own risk in a lot of ways.
They're children. Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks
for coming in. Smashed Tennis Prodigies, Parents and Parasites, written by Todd Ley.